to a player that we have known about. He visited in the past already. Is
Twice, right?
What's that? Aneyas Williams?
Oh no, sorry. I thought you were going to talk about Cam Williams.
Are you going to the Cam?
Sorry.
No, I was
Let's
going
go
to
to
give the
Aneyas.
running backs.
Yeah.
The running backs a little bit of love here because Aneyas, Aneyas Williams, who played for the Rams and the Cardinals, was one of my favorite players growing up. He spells it a little differently, this Aneyas Williams, but out of the state of Missouri, a 5'11", 200-pound running back who, if you turn on, I mean, I was just writing him up a little bit, Brian. He had almost 2,800 all-purpose yards last year, 47 touchdowns, and another 73 tackles and 3 interceptions on defense. Like a very ridiculous stat line for Aneyas Williams. Obviously, he plays at a smaller school, so I would assume that Notre Dame wanted to see him in person to kind of size him up, make sure that he kind of checks those boxes. If you watch his film, I mean, the kid is, as a runner, I mean, they put him in the slot and they ask him to run vertical routes. Like, he's not just like a check down dude. He's not running angle routes. This kid is running a legit route tree as a slot receiver as well. A little harder sometimes in these types of settings to get a real feel for running back at points, right? But I mean, for the most part, it sounds like he looked as advertised as an athlete yesterday.
The thing Notre Dame wanted to see, I would imagine, is with a kid like that who's got great film, is okay, let me see if he's as big as he says he is. Because when you play against bad comp, usually those guys are smaller. It's harder. Like, if you look like you have the size to play and you're playing in Dallas or LA or Miami or those type, the size checks, right? Like, if you can physically play there, it's a little different when you're playing in Hannibal, Missouri, where you're like, I don't know what the standard to gauge it against is, right? So I think seeing him check out and Ryan, I wrote this last night. You and I have a similar thought process on comps. I hate lazy comps. I hate comps that you have to compare someone just to a person that they went to school, they're going to the same school, or you're the school you cover, or because they're the same race or the same. Like, it's about finding something for style of play and body type. But I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm like, please don't pick Kyron Williams. Like, dude, Brian, just think of somebody. And I couldn't because, and here's what I mean, like, not only just the last name, they're both from Missouri, but same, like, very similar height. I think Aneyas is a little taller. Very similar body types, really that well-built lower body. That's something I think Notre Dame wanted to see. And I'm just going off common sense of what you want to see is you want to see a running back that's got something to his lower body, right? Really athletic, cut up upper body kid, but still room to add more weight to it. He's listed at 5'10", 195. I don't know about the 5'10" part. He was close. The 195 part I buy. Like, after seeing him yesterday, I buy that. Which means he's already as big as Kyron. I mean, he looked as big as Kyron Williams body-wise now, like what Kyron is now. And I think he's at least an inch taller than what Kyron is. So the body checked out, right? So then it's like, okay, let me see the feet move. Like, I don't care about what a running back at camp, it's not about can he play running back. I want to see how he moves. And so, watching Coach, that was the cool thing for me. I had to kind of stop watching Coach McCullough so I could actually watch the kids that were there because, it's my first chance seeing Jared Parker coaching in action. First chance to see Coach Stuckey and Coach McCullough and those guys coaching. Coach Washington. That was pretty cool. So I finally focused on Aneyas and, really smooth feet, really easy movement, Ryan. Like, it's just not – and what I mean is, like, there's just not a lot of effort and strain to movements. He's able to plant quickly and get out. He's able to – spin and then plant his feet and then go, right? That's the balance part. Like, a lot of guys can spin, but if you don't have agility and balance, you're not going to land and go. There's going to be a gather period. And that's when we talk about what does it mean when you talk about running backs balanced. When he gets hit in the leg and he gets knocked off course, does he quickly get his feet back on the ground and go, or does he kind of got to balance himself, right, and then go? Guys with great balance hit that ground and they're right back to it, right? And we kind of saw those things from Aneyas yesterday. Really nice feet. And here's the other thing I liked. This may not seem like a big deal to some people, but as a coach, it is. He was the first kid in line at every single drill they went through. And Coach McCullough would instruct him, and it was quick instruction. I mean, he talks fast. And he was not dumbing it down for rising juniors in high school. He was, and I got to think that was on purpose. It was, let me see how quickly you can absorb knowledge and then go do it. And every time Aneyas was bam, 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 doing exactly how he wanted to do it. And that stood out to me as well. So that tells me he's a kid that takes coaching, he takes instruction, he's a smart kid, He can see something and quickly apply it. That's what you want, because that's the kind of kid you're sitting there at halftime of a game and you got to change up your aiming points. You got to change up your blocking scheme. Or you got to change up at a route that you think can work. But you've got a kid at running back or receiver quarterback that you need 3 days of practice before he figures it out. You can't make those adjustments. This is something a lot of people don't think about when you think about halftime adjustments or in-game adjustments. It's also about how quickly can kids absorb what you're doing and go do it, or do you need to rep it 20 times? Well, what I saw from Aneyas yesterday is Dylan McCullough could show it to him one time in slow motion, and Aneyas would immediately do it exactly how the coach wanted it done. That's a great sign. That's a great sign. And it just continues what you and I know to be true, Ryan, which is the 2024 running back board is impressive because, like you said, this is his second trip on campus. He was also on campus in April for an unofficial visit. So this is the second time he's made a trip from campus, and it's just a more of a concerted effort on the article that IB had a while ago about Missouri is becoming a more and more and more important state to Notre Dame, and Aneyas Williams is just another example of that.